agree with it.
Right. So I figure we could probably do a little longer on Shabbos and a little shorter on Friday.
I knew he was going to do that with that signaling.
That's my thought process.
Maybe Masa Shabbos we could do it after Central Time.
What time is that? I thought about that. Aaron, I thought about that. What time?
Like an hour after you guys.
Why stop at Central? Why stop at Central?
Because
Listen,
don't push
So
it.
you're saying like 7:30 instead of 6:30?
No,
Yeah.
it definitely wouldn't be 6:30. What time did we call it for last week?
7:15.
7:15. So he's saying about 8:15.
No, because you keep 72, Aaron. What do you keep?
No.
What?
41.
60, like 60?
You keeping 60? What time is Shkia by you?
50 to 60. I don't know. I'll tell you what when Shabbos is over. 1 second. I'll look at that.
So tomorrow lift benching is 5:22, right? So let's call it for 5 to 5. 4:55, right? Okay, we'll do 15, 20 minutes.
What?
Call it for 4:50. How's that? 4:50.
Okay, what's up?
We're waiting for Aaron's wife to tell us.
Last week was, I don't have it didn't come in yet, but last week was 6:33.
It's your time.
Havdalah. Like, so 7:35, let's say, so about the 7:45.
Very late over there, bro. You know what I mean?
No,
We're gonna miss the 8 o'clock movie. What are you doing?
52. We're over at 52, 5 to 7, right? Yeah, that's what
It
time
would be
72 is.
7:25.
The
He's
7:45.
asking for 7:45.
Well, what's going on? What time is it in Chicago?
You don't have
I
any
mean,
nice
in Cleveland.
All right, Shai.
Cleveland's the same time as New York.
Mm.
If
no,
you call it for
it's
7:30,
We'll
if you
call
go
it
over
for
7:30
7:30.
and then start with Musar,
Right.
he'll catch the dub.
Yeah. Okay, we'll do the
Aaron
start. We'll call it
David,
7:30.
Aaron David Swag, if there was some sourdough breads floating around, you might have picked up some votes. You're not getting any votes.
I have
Byron, we
I have
don't
a
talk
lot-
to people without their video on, Byron. We don't talk to black screens.
Ooh.
I got a very large sourdough batch cooking up. Come and
Okay,
pick it
well,
up in Memphis.
Overnight.
It doesn't really help us.
Sorry, you are wrong. You know why? Because hummus
Listen.
roasted with
I
the-
left plenty of my starter with
It's
Mrs.
not
Stein and with
Just
Parrot.
when hummus is not taught properly.
I don't have
Yeah.
your starter,
Hummus
Bondi.
is taught
Oh, you have your own. You made your own, not from your mother.
I'll tell you what, we'll make up short.
Fine.
7:35.
No,
The island is,
7:45.
7:35 equals
7:35 by the time you get on, and that's it. You don't got to make your kavanas and say what's that? Yitain lachan all. You can do that after the daf.
Right.
I still got to do last week's. Don't worry about it.
Right. I was gonna say.
Okay, let's go.
Beauty is not going to be on. You know that.
What?
You
I'm
know
gonna
he's not going
try.
to be on Monday Shabbos.
I'm
That's
going
true.
to try.
True, that's true.
Last week I would have been on, but it was already too late.
Yeah. Anyways, okay, we ready to start the daf? And tonight? Okay.
Ava Sabanim is ending soon, so I could go on soon.
Okay, new parak, yeah? New parak. Yeah, so now, we're supposed to do a hakdama, right? So we're gonna have a machlokes. Basically, tonight's stuff is about whether Beis Shamai really holds it. If you make something hekdesh b'tois, hekdesh by mistake, does it really become hekdesh? There's gonna be two pshatim. One is initially gonna say that Beis Shamai holds that hekdesh b'tois is hekdesh, and then we're gonna say that it's not hekdesh, and then we're gonna go back to saying that it is hekdesh. And along the way, we have different cases of where there could potentially be strange cases of guys basically gambling on whether a guy is a nazir or not. And then their nizirus is going to be based on whether that guy is a nazir. Okay, so that's a quick overview, but that's basically what the daf is about. Okay, so Zok the Mishnah on the bottom line of Lamed Amud Beis, Beis Shamai Oimrim, hekdesh tois hekdesh. Beis Shamai says that hekdesh toys is hekdesh. Right? Beis Hillel on Amud Aleph now. Beis Hillel loymrim ein hekdesh. It's not hekdesh. Yeah? Which the Mefarish says, since his words were not what his words said, they're not makuyim. But what he had wanted to do didn't come. So Mamela, it's not considered hekdesh. What's the case? Keitzad. Omar shar shachar sheyatza mi beisi rishon harayu hekdesh. Now this terminology is important. What he says the first black shar, the first black ox that comes out of my house is going to be hekdesh. So he said a few things here. He said black, it's a black thing coming out of his house, and rishon. Right? First black ox coming out of his house is going to be hekdesh. And what do you know? V'yotza lavan. And out came a white ox, not a black ox. So what's the story? So Beis Shamai amrim hekdesh. Beis Shamai says it's hekdesh. Beis Hillel amrim ein hekdesh. Beis Hillel says it's not hekdesh. Right? Why? So because Beis Shamai says that was hekdesh b'tois. Right? He really meant that the animal that comes out of his, at least what we're thinking now, he meant that the first ox that comes out of his house is going to be hekdesh, even though he said black. But so what? He made a mistake on the black part, and memela, that's considered hekdesh. That's what the Gemara thinks. That's what the Mishnah initially thinks. Beis Hillel says it's not hekdesh because he said black ox that comes out of his house, and it was a white ox that came out. Then two similar cases. Dinar zav sheyala biyadi rishon hareyo hekdesh. A gold dinar, which came out of his hand first, is considered hekdesh, right? Meaning whatever the gold, again, he's saying a few things. It's whatever's coming out of his hand first, that's gold, is hekdesh. V'ala shel kesef, and of course, he pulled out something silver. So the same thing. Beis Shamai amrim hekdesh. Beis Shamai says it's hekdesh because he really meant the first coin that he takes out is going to be hekdesh. Just happened to be that it was a mistake. He got silver instead of gold. Beis Hillel amrim ein hekdesh. Beis Hillel says it's not hekdesh. Third case, similar. Chavash shel yayin shetala biyadi rishayna. The first barrel of wine, which comes from my hand, is harei hekdesh. For also shel shemen, but then it ended up being a barrel of wine. It ended up being a barrel of oil. So is it hekdesh or not? So Beis Shamai amrim hekdesh. Beis Hillel amrim ein hekdesh. Beis Shamai says hekdesh. Beis Hillel says not hekdesh. So we have three cases. And what's interesting is that the Gemara doesn't, usually when a Gemara has when a Mishnah has three cases, it doesn't, it says, okay, why do we need three cases? And then it goes with here the Gemara does not or will not do it. So the Rav explains why there's a couple of them, because one is hekdesh guf, one is hekdesh mammon. But it's interesting that the Gemara does not ask for why it needs to have three cases. Yeah.
Isn't there a case in Navi with someone and his daughter?
Correct. Yiftach.
Yiftach.
Yeah.
I remember vaguely as a kid learning something.
Yeah. Well, no, we discussed it a couple of weeks ago or a couple of months ago. I don't know, but in the past, in the recent past.
Yeah.
In the recent past, we discussed it.
We mentioned it last night. Last night, that close to the past? Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, so what he did, he made a neder that the first, if he wins the war, the first thing that comes out of his house, he's going to be makriv. He's going to be mamish makriv. Makriv is a korban, and his daughter was the first thing that came out of the house. That's what Naphtali is referring to. It's in Shmuel, whatever. And so that is a whole machlokes, whether he is actually makriv her or wasn't makriv her. But that's a whole sugya. Yeah.
It wasn't Shoftim, no Shmuel.
It's in Shmuel. Oh, it's Shoftim, I'm sorry. Yeah, is it Shoftim? I don't know. Listen, that I knew it was in Nevi'im Rishayim is already a hekdesh. So I'll be happy with that. Anyways, okay, so that's the Mishnah. Basically, again, we're saying Beis Shamai holds hekdesh b'tois is a hekdesh, and Beis Hillel says not. So Beis Shamai and hekdesh. Okay, my tamayo de Beis Shamai. Why did Beis Shamai say that hekdesh b'tois is a hekdesh? The alfina tchilas hekdesh misayif hekdesh, because they learn out the beginning of hekdesh from soif hekdesh, which basically soif hekdesh is the same thing as temura. Temura is, we discussed a couple times in the last week, that when you have an animal that's hekdesh and you swap it out for another animal, which it's not allowed to be done. You are not allowed to swap one animal for another animal. But if you did it, they both have hekdesh. They're both kaddish. So if this guy, that's called soif hekdesh because one animal's already kaddish and he transferred the kedusha onto the other animal, right? But and that's soif hekdesh. Tchilas hekdesh is here, where the guy is initially making an animal into hekdesh. So Beis Shamai says we learn out the dinim of tchilas hekdesh from soif hekdesh. Ma temura afilu b'tois. Temura is even if it was a mistake, right? Because if a guy, like the mashal would be, if a guy has an animal that's hekdesh, he has a cow that's hekdesh, and he says, I want the black cow that's in the barn to become hekdesh, and it ends up being a white cow in the barn. So did he make a mistake or not? So by temura, according to everybody, by temura, that's considered hekdesh, even though he made a mistake. So Beis Shamai says, the same way by temura, it's considered a mistake and it's still hekdesh. So the same thing here, even by the initial kedusha, it's even though it's a mistake, it's hekdesh. So af hekdesh afilu b'tais. Again, ma temura afilu b'tais, just like temura, which is soif hekdesh. It's even if it was done by mistake. Af hekdesh afilu b'tais. So even the initial hekdesh is considered b'tais. So Beis Hillel hani mili temura. That's only by temura. Aval achusi hekdesh b'tais lo'machtinon. He says, but putting, I think it comes from the word nachas, around achusi, I think, to rest an initial hekdesh by mistake, that we don't do. So basically, the machlokes Beis Shamai Beis Hillel is, do we say that once something's hekdesh, to extend that hekdesh to something else happens even by mistake, but to put an initial hekdesh onto something when it was done by mistake, that's not an issue, right? That's not considered hekdesh. So Gemara asks, let's say a guy says that I have this animal that's hekdesh, and I want the kedusha to transfer onto another animal by chatzos. He says this in the morning. He says, I want it to transfer to this other animal by chatzos. Yeah, so mihabi temura mehi shata. Is it considered temura right when he says it in the morning? Of course not, right? The guy says in the morning, I want the kedusha to transfer to my animal, to my other animal in the afternoon. Again, he's not allowed to do that. And if he does it, both animals are hekdesh. But that doesn't happen in the morning when he says it. It happens only in the afternoon. Only once he gets the chatzais is it going to be temura. When he said it, the black animal, the black ox that comes out of the house first is going to be hekdesh. Okay, so when that happens, that's when it's going to become hekdesh. Until that happens, it didn't become hekdesh, right? So that's the kasha on Beis Shamai. So Rav Papa says, "Lokach nemar rishon." Why did the guy say rishon? So what it means is a kishayotza rishon, right? It means that when the first animal that we're changing the pshat now. Till now we thought that the animal that comes out, the first animal that comes out of the house, which he's saying is going to be black, and it didn't end up being black. That's what we thought. And now we're saying, no, that means that the first black, basically what he's saying is the first black animal to come out of the house is going to be hekdesh, right? But if it does, the first one that doesn't come out black, that's not going to be hekdesh, right? The first black one that comes out is going to be hekdesh. And then what happened is that a white one came out, right? But really he meant that the first black one. So then let's say the next one after the white one, or the second one was a black one. So then that's going to be, that one's going to be hekdesh. So the Gemara asks, he said, one black ox, must be that there was only one black ox. Meaning, again, initially in the Mishnah, we thought that he's saying when the black ox comes out of the house, it's going to be hekdesh. And what ended up happening was a white ox came out. So Beis Shamai says it's hekdesh. Now Rav Papa is saying, no, that's not what happened. He said that when there's a bunch of black oxen in the house, and when the first black ox comes out, that one's going to be hekdesh. So the Gemara is asking now, but it says shar shacher. He said when the black ox comes out, that is mashma that there's only one black ox in the house. Now you're saying that there's multiple black oxen in the house, right? So again, he said shar shacher mila eskined lahai. And we're not talking about where he only has one ox. He says like tzricha the islay trained tlasa. Talking about where he had 2 or 3 oxen, meaning your diak in the Mishnah is incorrect. It's not where he had 1 ox. It's talking about where he had 2, 3 oxen. Right? So Beis Hillel im kain sheyatza berisha mibayla. So then he should have said, he should have just said the ox that comes out first. Why did he say mi basi? What was the lashon he used? Yeah, mi basi. Why does mi basi have to do with it? Right? So must be the reason why he said mi basi is because he meant the first ox that's black, the first ox that comes out of my house, which is black. Right? Fine. Okay, so that's how but that's what Beis Hillel says. So Amalei Rav mi Barnish Ravashi Pasha the Kasha Hi hekdesh b'tois. So this is hekdesh b'tois, hekdesh b'kavanahu. Then it's hekdesh b'kavana. Right? Meaning again, the way Rav Papa is explaining the Mishnah, he's saying that the guy said the first black ox to come out of the house. Right? So then comes out that when Beis Shamai says it's hekdesh, it's not going on the white ox, it's going on the black ox. So that's exactly what he meant. Now, why is that called hekdesh b'tois? Again, in the Havamina, we thought that when Beis Shamai says it's hekdesh, it's going on the white ox. And now Rav Papa says not going on the white ox, it's going on the first black ox that comes out. Okay, so that's not hekdesh b'tois, that's hekdesh b'kavana. We're saying that he meant that the first black ox to come out is going to be hekdesh, so that's what it is. Right? So how could that fit? So Gemara answers, no, it's considered hekdesh b'tois mishum da'ataya l'dibure kama. He is messing with his first sentence, meaning the sentence is so vague that this guy said, like we pointed out in the Mishnah. What was his lashon? The first black ox that comes out of my house. No, the black ox that comes out of my house first is hekdesh. Right? So we have no idea what this guy's kavanah was. Right? Was it the first ox that comes out of the house? Is it the black ox that comes out of the house? Maybe the white.
And we don't take him at face value at what he said.
I don't even know if he knows himself what he said.
Well, but he said the Gemara is saying he said something.
Right.
So we don't take him at face value with what we're saying he said.
But there is what is the face value of what he said?
What walked out of his house first?
Right, but then he said black. What do you do with that? Right. So since he said black first out of the house, he's so confusing. So Beis Shamai is calling that. And how do you know
he wasn't talking about his first house over his second house?
That's okay. I hear. Mastami is referring to the house that he's at. Right? Maybe. Okay, you can throw that in there too, Parrots, once you're doing confusion.
Yeah, Sharsha Yatsumi Beis Rishon. It goes out of my first house.
Oh, you mean that's what you're saying? We basically Rishon. I didn't cop that you were saying. Okay, yeah. I hear that. All right. Okay, maybe from his first house. So the Gemara is saying that since it's so vague, that's called hekdesh b'tois. But it comes out a big chiddush according to Rav Papa. Because, doesn't the first line in the Mishnah say, Beis Shamai says hekdesh b'tois is hekdesh? Right? And now, when he explains the machlokes, when the Mishnah explains the machlokes Beis Shamai Beis Hillel, Rav Papa is really saying that it's not hekdesh. He really holds hekdesh b'tois is not hekdesh. Just in this case, it's considered hekdesh b'tois. That is not the simple reading of the Mishnah. We're going to see on Amud Beis that Abai disagrees, but that's what it seems like now. Okay, so then I want to ask, Beis Shamai hekdesh b'tois lo yavi hekdesh. Are you trying to say now that Beis Shamai holds that hekdesh b'tois is not hekdesh? But Tanan Misha Neder ben Nazir, if somebody made a neder to become a Nazir ben Nisha l'chachamim, and he asked the chachamim v'tiru, and they mattered it v'haisale behema refreshes, and he already had a behema separated in order to bring it as a carbon. So now, of course, it's hekdesh, or it was hekdesh. But now that he had his nizirus reversed, now he's got this animal. So what's the din? Teitze v'tira be'eder. He could send it out and it can go graze with the rest of the flock, meaning it's not hekdesh at all. Right? It's not hekdesh. So Amr Beis Hillel Beis Shamai, aren't you moida that this is a hekdesh b'tois? Why? Because the guy made it into hekdesh. Then his nizirus was taken back. So that comes out that animal was made hekdesh by mistake. Right? So since it was made hekdesh by mistake, according to Beis Shamai, how are you putting it back into the flock? He should have to be makravit, which we know you can't be makravit because we have, it depends which carbon it is. But why is that not a hekdesh? But that's what Beis Shamai, Beis Hillel asked Beis Shamai. But teitze v'tira be'eder, and you're saying that it goes out into the flock. How can you say that? Right? So by Beis Hillel asking this to Beis Shamai, clearly he holds that Beis Shamai holds that hekdesh b'tois is hekdesh. Otherwise, what's Beis Hillel asking Beis Shamai? Beis Shamai could have answered, what do you mean? I hold hekdesh b'tois is not hekdesh. According to Rav Papa's teretz, he's saying Beis Shamai holds hekdesh b'tois is not a hekdesh. Right? So wouldn't Beis Shamai turn back to Beis Hillel and say, what are you talking about? I hold hekdesh b'tois is not hekdesh. Right? So Elamai, he didn't say that. And Beis Hillel is asking him a question. So it must be Michlal, the Sabri Beis Shamai, hekdesh b'tois havi hekdesh. Must be Beis Shamai holds that hekdesh b'tois is a hekdesh, because otherwise, why is Beis Hillel asking him questions? Right? Ella, so we say Ella, Beis Hillel hu de kato. No, Beis Hillel made a mistake. Sabri tamar de Beis Shamai mishum de hekdesh b'tois havi hekdesh. He holds that the reason why Beis Shamai said hekdesh b'tois is hekdesh, he held that Beis Hillel thought that Beis Shamai held that hekdesh b'tois is hekdesh. Parmilam Beis Shamai, but Beis Shamai would tell him, no, lav mishum hekdesh b'tois. The reason why is not because of hekdesh b'tois. El mishum da'atay lidibure kama. The reason in the Mishnah why I say that the first animal that comes out, it's really not the first animal. The black animal that comes out, right, is because I hold that the guy was so mixed up in his lashinas. That's called hekdesh b'tois. Right? Okay, so that's how we answer it. That Beis Hillel misunderstood Beis Shamai, which you can't blame Beis Hillel, because what the Mishnah starts off with, Beis Shamai says hekdesh b'tois is hekdesh. Right?
Is this part of the I mean, the Mishnah says hekdesh tos without a base, and we're dealing with hekdesh b'tos. So the correct grammatically correct way to say it would be hekdesh b'tos. But the Mishnah's lashon itself is just as misleading as the guy's lashon.
True point. Right, it is. It's very misleading. Right?
I mean, that hekdesh tos could mean hekdesh b'tos or a tayla dibure.
Right. Yeah. So, which we should have pointed out, by the way, that Tosfos points out that that the only reason we're getting involved in this is because Nazir we consider like hekdesh, right? So Nazir b'tois, which we're about to say, is what's going on now. If you notice, there's something different about this daf, and that is the mefarish is way bigger than the Tosfos. Right? Usually, in all the dafim, the Tosfos is very big and the mefarish is very small, and the reason for that is why tomorrow's daf is only 6 lines, because all the Tosfos from this are on not tomorrow's daf, Shabbos' daf.
No, it's much of Shabbos, right? Yeah.
All the Tosfos on Shabbos' daf and Daf Lamed Gimel are really from here, which is why Daf Lamed Gimel is so small. I don't know. I guess not only did the terminology of Nazir apply, it seems like even the printers had issues, right? We're trying to figure out how Nazir went. But anyway, either way, fine. So now the Gemara says another kasha, second line up from the bottom. The Sabri Beis Shamai hekdesh b'tois lo yavi hekdesh. And does Beis Shamai hold that hekdesh b'tois is not a hekdesh? Tashema, hayu mahalchin b'derech. And this is a Mishnah in a couple of lot. If the guys were going on the way, now, like I guess these guys are doing what guys do when they're bored and walking, right? So they start gambling with each other. Let's see. And somebody was coming the other way. Yeah. And one guy opens up and he says, Hareini Nazir Shazeh Plain. You see that guy walking? I gamble. I'm betting that guy's a Nazir. I'm sorry, that's not a Nazir. I'm a Nazir if that's whoever's coming down the street, if that's, I don't know, Yankel Shmer, right? I'm going to be a Nazir that he is. Meaning he's betting that this guy, that who he thinks that guy is him, and he's willing to back it up by being a Nazir. So of course, like every male does, the next guy next to him is going to take the opposite side of the bet. He's going to say, no, I'm going to bet that it's not him, right? And then I'll be a Nazir. Then you have these real winners. The third guy says, Hareini Nazir she'echen michem Nazir. This guy is a smart guy. He knows how to hedge his bets. He says, well, I don't know. He wanted to be a Nazir, I guess. He says, I'm a Nazir that one of you guys is going to be a Nazir. That's brilliant, right? Yeah. Because that means he's automatically
if one
a
of
Nazir.
you guys become a Nazir, then I'm a Nazir?
I'm a Nazir that one of you guys is a Nazir. Right? Yeah. No, isn't that automatic? I mean, is there any other way around it?
Not sure why this should be less valuable than $1 million.
Shouldn't it be automatic because he's bound to win?
He's bound, right?
Yes or no?
He's taking a conservative bet right here.
Yeah,
right? But he's losing. He's losing the bet. He's losing unless you hold Nazir is not losing. That's back to our old conversation, right?
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Right? But he's losing, right?
But let him just say he wants to be a Nazir. Why is he going through like a Hungarian way?
Very good. Yeah, I don't know.
Could he be betting on it being an asmachta? If instead of nizirus, they were betting on $1 billion, that would be an asmachta leikanya. That would be l'kuli alma. It would not be a bet.
Correct.
But nizirus somehow is considered a bet.
I don't know, because the shaila is it's not costing anything. This is what people ask me about the Super Bowl.
Cost.
People, what do you mean? What's it cost? He's not giving anything over to anybody. Meaning, asmachtas leikani, because the other guys are gone. You can't bet. I can't bet you on something because if I lose and you take my money, I didn't mean that you should be kind of it. Right? So you're a ganav if you take my money because I was so sure of myself that if you take my money, I didn't have in mind to give it to you. But here, nobody's taking any money from anybody. You're becoming a Nazir, okay? Because then the guys asked me about the Super Bowl when I posted out about the gambling. Guy said, well, can you gamble where you're not giving anything to anybody? You say, I'm going to shave my head. I think that was the question the guy asked. He's going to shave his head if whichever team loses or wins. Is that gambling? That should be okay. I don't know.
They're all taking money away from the liquor store owner.
Okay, but that's not a bad thing. But I'm l'chayra. Yeah. Okay. Whatever. That's that guy. Then you have the other winners. She'ain. The fourth guy says she'ain echad michem nazir. He says that one of you is not a nazir. Right. So he's doing the same thing as number 3, as the third guy. Right. Because one of them is not going to be a nazir.
Ein echad michem means one of you is not going to become a nazir, or neither of you will be a nazir.
Oh, I thought that one of you is not.
Or not one of you, or one of you is not.
According to what you're saying, it should be that you should put an afilu in there, no? Again, I ain't no linguist, that's for sure.
No, grammatically, you would say it the same, pretty much the same way.
Okay.
Ein echad michem means
one
of you is not, yeah.
Speak to Peretz. He's the one putting the commas in different places tonight. So I don't know.
He just wants me to go away right now.
Yeah. So okay. So ain't echad
Not
mikem.
right now. Don't add a comma by right now. I just want you to go away, period.
Right. She'ein echad mikem nazir. That's the opposite bet, but it's the same bet. The guy's becoming a nazir. The fifth guy is sheshneichem nazirim. That both of you are nazir. Now, what is that? That can't be, right? Right. So he's saying that they're both nazir. That which is impossible. And then the last guy, shekulchem nazirim, that all of you are nazirim. He's saying, I'm a nazir if all five of you become nazir, which is also not possible. So Beis Shamai oimrem kulam nazirim. Beis Shamai says they're all nazirim, right? How could that be? Because it's considered, since they all said Hareini Nazir, right? Because it's hard to explain it. I'm trying. I was I don't know. It's like because he said Hareini Nazir, even though they're all making mistakes in some way, shape, or form, but he's saying that they're Nazir because l'chayra, at least that the Gemara is going to think now, it's nizirus b'tois, which is the same thing as hekdesh b'tois. And Beis Shamai holds hekdesh b'tois is considered hekdesh. So this guy said Hareini Nazir. Oh, he made it mixed up in calculations, didn't mix something, don't make a difference. He's a Nazir by mistake. Shine. So he's a Nazir by mistake according to Beis Shamai. Right? Basically what they're saying is like they meant to become Nazir, they just were giving, reasons, but we don't pay attention to the reasons, right? Just Nazir and finished. Right? Yeah. Hekdesh b'tois. Here it's hekdesh b'tois. V'katani kulam nazirim, and we learn that they're all nazirim. Right? So Amri, Sabri, Beis Shamai, hekdesh b'tois have hekdesh. So now we're saying Beis Shamai does hold hekdesh b'tois is hekdesh, but Hacha in our Mishnah loy, but not in our Mishnah. Right? Why? Because in our Mishnah, he just didn't, I don't know if it's called miscalculation, but he's saying in our Mishnah he Taka wanted to make one hekdesh, but he never said that. He never said any cow that comes out I'm making hekdesh. He said it that when the black cow that comes out first is hekdesh, that's hekdesh. That never materialized. See, the guys with the Nazir, right, so they were just shooting off their mouths. They were shooting off their mouths that they're going to be a Nazir, and then they gave the reasons. Right? Right? So the way that I'm looking at the Rush, the way the Rush says it, it's no different than temura, that a guy made a temura on him. But these guys with the Nazir, with the guy walking down the street, and they're all gambling who the guy is. They planned on being Nazir, right? Their end sentence, they made a mistake. If this one's Nazir, that one's Nazir, my friends are Nazir, both are Nazir, that they made a mistake. But the guy here, when he said that his only intention was in our Mishnah was that the first cow that comes out is black, hekdesh, not. So that's the way Rav Papa says it. Abai Omar, a different teretz. Like a salad daitach, to come b'tzafra. Don't think that it's talking about where the guy got up in the morning and said, okay, I need to make my animal hekdesh. The first black ox that comes out of my house is hekdesh. Don't think that that's what happened. Ella, hacha, we're talking about in the past tense, not in the future, in the past. Ella, hacha ma'askinon, the kaim b'tiara. Somewhere where he got up in the afternoon. I don't know if it means he got up in there. I mean, that's a literal taich. Could be he got up in the afternoon. I don't know. But he got up, meaning he decided in the afternoon. And he said, he says, Shar Shachar, Sheyatzami Beisi Rishon Lehavi Hekdesh. The black shar that came out of my house first. Right? He didn't have a news update which shar came out of his house first. He just assumed that the black shar came out of his house first. And he said, that one's hekdesh. The black cow that came out of my house first is hekdesh. Love enough. He said, buddy, you're misinformed. The first shor that came out of your house this morning was not black, it was white. And he said to them, had I known that it was a white shor that came out, I would have said black, and that's it. Meaning I wouldn't have said black. I would have just said shor lavan, or the first shor to come out. Meaning he's saying that the only reason why he said black is because he just assumed that the black one came out. So since it's in the past tense, right? So therefore Beis Shamai says that's hekdesh b'tois. So the Gemara asks, can you really say that it's talking about where it was in the past tense? Meaning he was doing it in the afternoon? The next case in the Mishnah is the guy says, whichever gold that I take out of this basket is hekdesh, and then he ends up taking out silver. So that's in the future. So how can you say that the first case? There's three cases in the Mishnah: shor, black shor, white shor, gold, silver, and wine barrel, oil barrel. So we're saying that the black shor, white shor is talking about in the past. So he's saying that the first case is the past, the second case is in the future. Doesn't make sense, right? So Tani sha'ala. So change it to sha'ala. So Gemara says, okay, what about the third case? Chavashal yayin shetala. That's also in the future. The barrel of wine that I take out from these barrels is going to be hekdesh. Tani sha'alsa. So we say it means sha'alsa, which you already took up in the past tense, right? So we're basically changing the Mishnah. And what about the first case? It sounds like the future tense. What? It's not the future tense. I'll hand it over to Geshem. Yeah. Right. So
that's why Abaye was so convinced that it's sheyotza, even though the ones before it said sheyetze. That right. He said the reason they changed it to yale and tale is because they misread the first word.
Right.
They read sheyetze, Mamela, they got it wrong. But really it was sheyotza, and the Mishnah would read according to everyone.
It's sheyotza. Yotza is past tense. Yetze, I don't know what tense it is, but I know yotza is past tense. Yetze is present tense, isn't it?
Yetze is future.
Future? Okay, Yetze. Let's say by Yetze Yaakov.
That's the Vav.
The Vav changes it.
Yetze is a command. He should go out.
I don't know. Ich weiß nicht. I'm not even going to try and understand this. I just know, I remember from Shmuel Brazil, when I was a Bachar in Shayash, going back a wave time, he said that the easy way to remember what's past tense is avar, right? So any word that has the same nekudas, avar, right, means it's in the past tense. I'm sure there's exclusions, Gershon, I'm sure. There's probably thousands of exclusions, but that's the basic rule. Every time I have it, I remember Reb Shmuel in the side room in Sheyoshev saying this over, and that's how I remember that, at least that one. Hoiveh, he says, is usually, Hoiveh is those nekudas.
Well, I heard the same thing as Nixon Maluk just now.
No. Nixon Maluk, no. Diktuk is just totally out. It's out.
It's the same with Yotza is a good example. Yotza is comets, two comets. That's past.
Right.
Yotzei is Hoive, is going out.
Correct.
And Yetzei is Yeye, is will go.
Unless there's a Vav.
Future. Yeah, that's a Vav Hippoch. It always works.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. Weiter.
I say we do Diktuk after the Daf.
Yes, maybe we should do Diktuk a day. How come, you see, they have every other program, Musar a day, Mishnayos a day. There's no Diktuk a day. There's
if you
a
do it
reason
after
for
the,
that.
I think if you do it after the Daf, you lose everyone. You got to do it after Musar, before the Daf.
There you go. Okay. Anyway, so basically we're changing the Mishnah to past tense. That's what we're saying. Fine. Now we do some not farming. What do you call it? I don't know. Some Rav Chisda. There's a name for it, but Uchma b'chivaria lakya. If you have a black, Uchma is an Aramaic for black. B'chivaria, that's white. Lakya means it's going to get malchus. Meaning, if you have a black black ox amongst white oxen, that's actually going to make your flock worth less, right?
We had that in brachas. The black cat.
What? Uchma.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, very good.
The black
Very good.
cat or something.
Yeah. So black amongst white's going to make it worth less because obviously black is worth less. Chivari ba'uchma laki, but if you have a white dot on a black cow, not a cow, ox, then that means that is lakia is also it's bad, right? Right. So the way the Mephira says it isn't even though normally a white ox is better, but when you have a dot of white on a black shar, then that's no good. That's no good. Fine. So Tanan, Shachar Shiyotzi Vesi Rishon hekdesh. If the guy says that the black ox that comes out of my house first is hekdesh, now we're going to have, before we go back to, we're going to have a machloikis. Are people generous with hekdesh or are people cheap with hekdesh? Right? Meaning, when somebody wants to make something hekdesh, do we assume he's going to try and get away with the most he can get away with? To be yaitza, let's call it. He just wants to be yaitza. Or is he going to try and be generous with hekdesh? So Gemara saying,
wouldn't that depend on the person?
What? Yes, but what's the average
person?
What's the general consensus amongst people? So Kasaka died to ki makdish ba'ayin ra makdish. Normally, when a person is makdish something, he does it with a bad eye. That's a literal translation, meaning he's cheap. Bari Beis Shamai havi hekdesh, but Beis Shamai says it's hekdesh. Now, meaning we have a shaila here. Which cow, which ox did he mean should be hekdesh? The black one or the white one? He said he means a black one, but a white one came out. And Beis Shamai says that it's hekdesh, right? The white one. At least that's what we're thinking, right? So why? If a guy's cheap and hekdesh, we have to say that Mustami meant the black one, not the white one, because people are cheap when it comes to hekdesh. Belamai, Sigmar says, okay, must be ba'ayin yavam makdish. Must be that Beis Shamai holds. Well, I don't know if Beis Shamai holds or we hold that people make hekdesh generously. So then if that's the case, Dina Shalzav Sheyala Biyadi, the next case in the Mishnah, Dina Shalzav Sheyala Biyadi Rishon, the first gold dinar that comes out of my hand, Va'ala B'Kesef, and it comes Kesef Beis Shamai Amrim hekdesh. It's hekdesh, right? So why is it hekdesh? He really meant to do generously, right? And now you're saying that the silver is, right? So how could that be? Velamai, ba'ayin ra makdish must be. We're back to the other way. That a person makes something hekdesh, well, cheap. So if that's the case, if you have a barrel of wine, that the first barrel of wine that's going to come out, and it comes out oil, oil is better than wine. So why are you saying if people are cheap, so then why would you say that the guy wanted to make the wine hekdesh? It must not be. So basically we have a big fat stira from the beginning, the first three, in the three cases in the Mishnah, which way are we going with this? So the Gemara answers, like kasha. If it's because of that, it's not a kasha, the barrel part. The glila shanu, because we're talking about in Galil, the chamra mishra, that's talking about a place where the wine is better than oil. So wine is worth more than oil, which is okay. I don't understand the havamina. I mean, you can also say that depending on the climate, meaning sometimes oil will be worth more, sometimes wine will be worth more. So I guess the Gemara's havamina was that oil is always worth more. The Gemara's teretz says don't ask kashas on that. No, because we're talking about in Galil where oil was worth more, right? Fine. I'm assuming that's because wine was in such abundance in the Galil, but I don't know if that's true. I mean, that's where the winemakers are now. So I think so. Maybe that's why. Okay, so then Reisha Kasha Rav Chisda, but what about the Reisha? Right? Meaning Rav Chisda is the one who says that the white cow is worth more than the black cow. So then the Reisha is a Kasha on Rav Chisda. Right? Why are you saying that the white is hekdesh if you're saying that people are really cheap? So why are you saying that the white cow is hekdesh, really the black cow is hekdesh? I mean, he's not talking about your regular white ox. He's talking about a Carmenian ox. right? So that's a specific type of ox that's worth more, right? So meaning what he's saying now is that really we go with that when somebody makes something hekdesh, he's doing it in the cheapest way possible, right? And that's why the white ox, he says it's the white ox because that's cheaper, and the silver coin and the oil, right? So
This remains true today.
What do you
In
mean?
America, we use black Angus. They're black oxen for beef. Kobe beef in Japan is a black breed of cow also. So the best beef cows are black.
I never understood black Angus to be a black. I didn't know there was enough kamina.
Yeah, it's a black. It's the color black.
Uh-huh.
Kobe
Okay.
beef wool has to be a black. I can't remember what it's called, the breed, but it's all
Gersh is
black.
such a racist. It's gefährlich.
Okay.
No, that's positive. That's yeah.
Yeah.
I was talking about the other Gemara.
Right.
I thought he's talking about, I know what he's talking about, because that white guy won the dunk contest. So they're saying he only got in because he's white. It's lehepech, right? It's lehepech. So that's what he's referring to.
Luscious Saginar.
That's right. So anyway, so then V'amar Rav Chisda Uchma. Maybe we get into more biology or earth science. Uchma lemashre. If you want a black ox, you want it for its skin. Sumka, a red ox, is lipsari. That's for its basar, which not like Gershon. And chivara, white one, is l'radya for plowing. V'amar Rav Chisda Uchma b'char lakia. But didn't we say that a black ox makes it worth less? Makes your whole herd or whatever flock, whatever they call it, is makes it worth less. So you see that a white ox is worth more. I mean, he said a white ox is worth more, and here it seems like it should be a black ox. So again, ki amri betura de karmanoi. Rav Chisda was talking about this Carmenian ox, which is what something there. It's more chashuv, but and so if you have a black ox amongst these white oxen, these specialized oxen, then it's going to make them worth less, obviously. But if you have a black ox amongst white oxen, then the black ox is taka worth more. Okay, we'll stop here. I was a little roughed off tonight, but the Olam should have themselves a fine night.
So I have a question.
Go ahead.
The primary purpose of a gun is not to scare people, to shoot people.
Is not to scare or
to shoot?
It's not. It's to shoot and kill. The primary purpose.
Not to scare.
It's the toitza of haitzah. The thing that comes out of carrying it is that in most cases, what will happen is
Now
the
we're on to
nizirus
victims now.
But you're there's
No, I
two
was just
different
making
things
a
here.
pun.
There's intended and manufactured purpose, and then there's general
Right.
usage.
Parrots,
General
hit the
usage.
recording, parrots.
Dave asked me to wait for the morning shift for this one.